Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and each week I'm joined by hunky, hairy, huggable homos who love film to discuss movie news and, of course, review movies. Hence the movie in our title. With me, as usual, are my cohorts in crime, Jim Pliafco. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, thanks, guys, and hello, everyone. Welcome to this podcast version tonight.
And Will Lindis is here as well. Welcome, Will.
Hey, I sure am. Welcome back, movie fans. Good to have you with us again.
Try saying welcome, Will, like 8 times fast all in a row. I guarantee you will fuck it up.
We'll have to test that out later, off the air. The listeners don't want to hear that.
There's better stuff to get to. Last week, we teased that we had some treats coming up this week, and we are very, very happy to welcome a super special guest to the Movie Bears podcast. We've had him on before, but it's always a pleasure to have him back. Doug Langway, writer and director of the BearCity films, is with us. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me again. I had a blast with you guys last time, so let's do that again.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Doug is here to talk to us about BearCity 3. We'll get to that in a second. We are also going to be discussing Ted 2 a little later on this evening. Well, you may not be listening this evening, so relate that to whatever temporal time frame you're in. And we'll be going over our homework from last week's Inside Out review. But man of the hour, Doug Langway, BearCity 3. What is going on?
Oh yes, I'm really excited. You know, it took a few years to write it, but I said, you know, the last thing I want to do is make the third movie and then be like, damn, you should have stopped at 2. You know, so you know, I really needed to dig deep, man. I needed to dig deep into these characters and into my own soul and come up with something that is universal as the other films are. That's how they have that impact with us, but also with people that see it everywhere. I needed to really dig deep on this. This is my Jedi, man. This is my Jedi. This is my third and final. It's got to be deep. You know,
So it's third and final, right? Not like a 2-part Hunger Games final movie?
No, it's third and final, like in a share way. I'll probably have like BearCity 34 by the time it's actually final, but...
Fair enough. No prequel trilogy coming out later on?
No. We do have a comic book coming out that's the 2.5 between BearCity 2 and BearCity 3 by Matt Broussard and my producer, Sam Kite, came up with, which is great. But regardless of that, this is the film that will take us to the next level of what we did. The first one was about accepting yourself and finding out about the bears. The second one is telling the world and getting married. And this one is more about believing in ourselves enough to share that with another life and have them keep the torch going. So this last one is about life.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. It will be.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the Indiegogo campaign that you've got going for this? Because I know that compared to traditional funding routes, there are definitely advantages and disadvantages to crowdsourcing. Can you talk to us a bit about what Indiegogo is, what your partnership with them, how it's going to affect your creative process, and what you hope to achieve with BearCity 3?
Okay, so that'll be the whole hour. Thank you.
Way to go, Will. Jeez.
17
super
parts.
question.
It's 17 parts. Basically, Indiegogo is interesting. I you know, when I started this thing originally, my idea was definitely that I was writing about myself and my friends and the people of this community. But I thought that it would be a lot of fun. I know that our friends would have loved to have been a part in some way, but they couldn't because they live here and there. The Bears are a really great group because we're everywhere, and I thought it'd be really great to at least have their picture up so that they could be a part of it. So I did that, and then I thought, man, I'll charge them like $50, $75, $100, and then at least I'll be able to have some money to do something with it, you know, because usually you don't know, and they're like, oh, you know, you forgot this, and we have to re-edit the whole thing, and it's going to cost that, and you're like, ugh. So this is like that. It's that emergency fund I came up with. And it was great, and it ended up becoming a big part of the film as far as helping us finish it. Because you know, as many times as you do this, there's still always this what happened, where, and then you don't have what it takes to finish it, and a lot of people falter on that way, and we don't because we have the community's backing. So, but what was great was that you then I put it up, and the film was quite well received. and ended up in these film festivals that wasn't necessarily a gay film festival and didn't necessarily fill the room with bears. And it was great. People would see it and they would be like learning about the bears, these film people, us film people, and they're learning about different things, and they would just be, they really love the movie because it's a Universal movie, but then you see the pictures come up, and it's the real people, and it goes from, from fiction to nonfiction to them. They all of a sudden they're like, this is real, like, these are real people, and this is a real community. So that was fun.
It was fun for everyone. I mean, to see, not the people who saw their friends, come up on the screen like, oh, that's what's his name? I tricked with that guy. I mean,
pretty much, right?
I slept with him. I slept. Oh, her. Don't talk about her. But it was a great experience, and then so we did it again for 2. But in this one, I realized that people definitely have short attention spans. So what we're doing this time around is starting right at the beginning of the credits. So it comes up with the cast on the sides, much like a Pixar film. So, or where you always have something going on. We're also introducing video, which is scaring the hell out of me. Which we'll talk about Will's question about, how is the film itself being affected by crowdsourced funding? Because ultimately, while I did do that with the credits, I still funded most of it myself and with friends and people, and generally all the people that I've ever helped in their lives. I said, look, this is my shot. Give me money. So that was okay. But when it doesn't really make all its money back, that was quite fine because they were all my friends who I've helped, and they're fine with that. Second time around, it cost even more. But we distributed on our own, so we were able to get more of the money back, but never really paying. It definitely doesn't make anybody rich. We all do it for the love of being able to tell our story, and it's important that our story be told. But this time around, I was like, well, the hell? Like, how would everybody help me? So why don't we just go ahead and do the whole fundraising, the crowdsourced fundraising, because everybody wants to be a part of it, and so far it's been amazing. We had to make decisions on which one to go with, whether it's Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and they all have their pluses, and one takes more of a fee than others, and if you do it fixed versus funded, an all or nothing thing versus a not all or nothing thing, what difference that is with money, and we ended up going with Indiegogo. We think the platform is great, and so I ended up not making I didn't want to make a bag video. It's just not me. What I thought is whenever I make these movies is that I want you to find a piece of you in it, and then it's sucked into it beautifully. So and just that's why the people cry and they laugh and they really love the movies. So I decided to make that the video. So in this crowdfunding video, it's really just kind of like a story within the story. It's like a little mini piece, and it's really great because it was funny, and I'm in it for a little bit because I thought, well, shit, if I'm going to ask people for $250,000, they should know who the fuck I am.
In your underwear.
In my underwear. Well, that was the point. I was like, oh my god, am I really doing this? Okay. Because I make everybody, and anybody can tell you on the set, I make everybody get the clothes off, and now finally, and when I'm doing it, everybody's like, ha, good. Let's see, Doug. Because I'm always like, you, shirt off, you, shirt off. Yes, you, shirt off. No, keep your shirt on. But no, I never do that. But
no, it was great because it was like, for those of us who love the first 2 movies, it was seeing that video. It kind of like brought you back into that world, without having to go back and put those discs in the Blu-ray player. So it was awesome to see those faces again, and
And that was the plan. It was like, let's just bring them back into the world, and instead of saying, hey, we're going to do this really great thing, let's show you what we're going to do. So we went ahead and did that, and it was fun, the video games and bringing everybody back one by one. It's a lot of fun. The downside of that is I think people think the friggin' thing's done. They're like, hey, man, when's it come out? I'm like, what the fuck? I don't even have money to make the thing yet. What are you talking about? When's it coming out?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm talking to everybody about how important it is to make it, because now you see what we can do. I have an actual script that's actually really good that I would love to do. And the way the fundraising works is you get to a certain point, and if we can fund it, then we can go ahead and add things to it. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how they work.
And speaking of the script, I mean, we've hung out with you a few times since we saw you in P-Town a couple years ago, and when we've seen you, people are like barraging you with like, oh, you should put this in the movie, you should put that in the movie. Da, da, da. So when I went to the Indiegogo page and saw this idea of bears in the woods, right? Movie 1, we were pretty much in the city. Movie 2, we went to P-Town, bitches. You know, now we're going in the woods. I'm curious, like, the further out in the sticks we get, like, does it get a lot harder to shoot this thing and make it, even if you have the money?
Well, no. You know what it is? Trust me, P-Town is the most expensive place you can do anything at $20 a drink if anybody's ever been there.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
It's just, you know, so P-Town killed us as far as that's concerned, the housing and whatnot. No, you know, the concept behind all those things is like the first one in New York and that one in P-Town, is they relate to the story. So, you know, in New York it was this, you know, it's a very kind of enclosed city, and you know, it was about a world where a person was enclosing in his own life because he was afraid to tell people he liked big hairy dudes. And then you go to this freedom area where the entire freaking little world is gay in P-Town, and it's fantastic, and it's very free and it's open. So for the woods, the reason for the woods is because I now want to deal with people's lives, their real lives, their inner lives. This is my Jedi, like I said. So the woods are tangly, and they're you know, they're complex, and yet they're simple and beautiful at the same time. And I feel like that's a great backdrop to this. And then the other part was that I didn't want to end up like Sex and the City 2, where you're going to some place in Dubai with some $1 million house. Who the fuck has those friends? Nobody does. Who? No.
I don't.
Yeah. So, but everybody can. All the bears love camping or glamping or camping with a very little C. You know, camping with toiletry. Everybody loves bear camping, and I just thought that you can relate to it. So that way, now we're in these settings in which we're talking about real important things that are going on. You're setting something that people are familiar with.
Absolutely.
Doug,
We have a live comment real quick from Sam who says, "Get involved at www.bearcity3.com."
That would be my producer, Sam Guy, one of my producers. And I see Jay Azzato coming up next. You'll see, and you know Jay. And then, of course, Jim Landy and the whole gang. The whole gang of Bear City Misfits.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Jim got back on board again.
Yes.
Or got off board, whatever.
He never gets off board. But he did. He moved. We did a couple other things that were really great.
Yeah, he did this thing right behind me.
Yes, he did do that thing right behind you.
Yeah.
And Ira's a great dude, and that was a great movie. And Ira's it's exciting what they're doing next. And Ira loved Bear City movies, and I thought that was great because that's very far from his world. And it was exciting.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, Brad's right. I mean, when we see you, people are like, you know, they give you the ideas. It seems like everybody had an idea. Did you have the camping or getting out to the woods idea kind of in your mind already, or is this something that came out fairly recently, or you know, when did you kind of settle on it and you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there were ideas thrown out. Oh yeah, the bears. Let's have a bear cruise. You know.
Yeah, we did. I mean, yeah.
We talked about that, right? And then it was like,
we both went and looked at the thing because there was a guy at the Liberty Cruise line that was like, "I'll do it," but you know, it became so big. All of a sudden, I started to see myself like
the budget.
It's not so much the budget. It's just it's so external. And I already did that with P-Town. It doesn't really get more external than that. So I felt like, you know, it needs to be something that feels more like home. So
more intimate, yeah.
Yeah, something that feels a little more at home, and I have been camping forever and a day, and that style of all male gay camping, bear weekend camping at a place called the Hillside for years, and I even wrote a script called Wolf or something, the first one before everything else, and it never got it off the ground. You know, it just wasn't the time for it, but I always thought about camping and the intricacies of that. I always write what I know. These people all know who they are in these movies because they go, "I can't believe you fucking did that to me on screen, Doug. I can't believe." So you know, the camping I'm very familiar with, so I was able to write it. And the guys at the Woods Campground are just wonderful. It's a totally great group of owners. You know, John and Pat and all of them are just super great. And then the people, I was a little afraid that doing it at all nude gay campground might be a little intrusive because if you guys know, you've been on my set. I say, yeah, we're going to come in, and people just think it's going to be a little film crew, you know, a little NYU film crew, a couple lights, and then they see trucks and big cameras, and you know, and they're like, ah! But that's what it takes to get it right, you know. The concept of making the film look effortless, so you don't notice the filmmaking, and you notice the characters, is a big and hard production, and that's why it costs so much money to make.
Yeah.
And so with that, I was a little nervous that these people would be upset about it or weirded out. It was a very private experience. But they're like, oh no, I get to the campground in the woods the other day, like a couple weeks ago for the bear thing, and they're like, Doug, come here, you have to see my dungeon. We just built it. We want you to put it in the movie. I'm like,
wow.
You have a dungeon in a camper, bro? Really? I'd like to see this.
Wow.
I'm like, a double wide dungeon, dude. I'm like, how could I not put a double wide dungeon in a movie? But
never thought of that. That is brilliant.
So a double wide dungeon. I mean, what these people do with their sites are beautiful, and creative.
It certainly sounds it. So, in some of the previous Bear City films, we've seen this parade of just different bear cameo appearances. Papa Bear from Survivor, Kevin Smith, Malcolm Ingram, Frank DeCaro, just to name a few. I know you have both funding goals and stretch goals. Do you have any plans to bring any fun guest stars in as some of the stretch goals?
Yes, I actually do, but I can't exactly say who it is. But it's definitely somebody that we're all like, dude, if that guy could be in a bear movie. You know, we have a few names at hand, but I don't know that I can share that right now.
So you hearing that, listeners? You hearing that, listeners? Listen to this.
Well, I actually say that. Actually, in the movie, the character says the guy's name. So you could think the first film, the actor says who we're trying to get.
In the first film. All right, that's it. Treasure hunt.
Yeah, go back, rewatch the first film, send us names. We need to know.
In the bar scene when he first meets them, he says the name of the character. Nice. So, you know, but yes, we're gonna go ahead and get those. I mean, with Malcolm, he was a friend, and because I did Bear Nation, I had met Kevin, so he was a friend. Frank DeCaro, you know. But this time, people have approached that I was like, wow. All right, this is awesome already. Okay, we're not really funded to see 15%. So 16. Yay! 3 days. Apparently that's awesome. Good. The people at Indiegogo think that's great. And you know, honestly, we just want to get it done. We want to make it. It's all the money goes on the screen. And so, but you know, with the stretch goals, we can make it just so much more like a real feature film. Like we actually have more time to shoot than just the bare minimum, and I better be damn on my game, which I generally am. But you know, when I think of something, you have to think of the place, location first, and then write it. When I did the whale coming up, I had found the footage first and then shot the scene. So for this one, we do the same thing. I wanted a bear in it for a specific reason, a real bear. So I went through all the stock footage and I found every shot I needed, and then I wrote the scene. Now the scene is hilarious and it's amazing. Now that I ruined it instead of stock footage, I really needed to be a real bear now, so that there's some. So that would be one of the stretch goals, is to go ahead and get a real bear in there. Because
CGI is so damn expensive these days.
Right?
CGI bears.
Well, just a guy in a bear suit.
No, a guy in a bear suit. That actually was the comic BearCity on SNL. Originally was a guy in a bear suit.
Nice.
But, yeah, so things like that. There will be some stretch goals, but right now the goal is to make the movie, and getting to that, and in the first 3 days raising 50% is apparently very good.
That's awesome.
And it's also right during Pride and during, you know, marriage equality, and that is a huge thing. So we didn't really promote it all. We promoted before it, and then when that happened, we're like, we're gonna give this the respect it deserves, and so we just kept quiet and went to parties and had a good time and got really drunk. And happy that, you know, marriage equality happened, and really proud of everyone involved.
Speaking of marriage equality, I mean, that is so huge. We've been celebrating since we all heard the news Friday. I was kind of curious. I mean, I know the script is done, but I mean, has that changed in legality? Is that going to be visited in the movie at all? Like, are we going to have?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, when I was writing the gay marriage part of it in the second one, it wasn't legal in New York, so I did have to flip the script, and then make it just they're going to P-Town, because originally that was the only place, but now we're in P-Town for the heck of it, because that's a great place to get married. With what we're doing here, this is more, you know, the main line is 3 years later, and Brent and Fred have decided to have a kid with Fred's sister, who's going to be played by a big star we're going to love, hopefully.
She's got the jizz.
She's exactly, which I give. She's got the jizz. And that was part of the fun of that little video, is to go ahead and give away a lot of stuff. If you go back and watch it a few times, it tells you a lot of what's going on. And we did that on purpose. So so there are some real surprises that happen. between the two movies that are really fun and interesting. You always have to flip the script on your characters for it to be interesting. So, in the one where it's very not successful, the next one has to be successful, and you have to keep evolving where they grow emotionally. So those two, it's about whether or not their lives are worth passing on to another person, and having what they can do and what they know and their wisdom give that child the armor it needs to go through the world. And gay people get to make, at least these two get to make that choice, because it wasn't thrust upon them. It was something they chose.
And I mean, we talked about it. I think when you were on, when we had you on for BearCity 2, I think we talked about the fact that the marriage in the movie and how that was at the time, that was cutting edge. I mean, that was on the leading edge of the movement. And now you're again kind of with BearCity 3, pushing that edge. We've got marriage equality now. Now it's time to come together and become, I mean, we have real gay families. Don't get me wrong, but now we're out there, and this is how we are. We're real legit, families, and
we're legit families, and what it takes to make that decision. But the thing I don't do is I don't talk about the decision or in the movie. The movie takes place where she's already 8.5 weeks pregnant, and Brent is baby proofing everything but the dildos, or including the dildos. And Fred is completely absorbed in his in the documentary that he was shooting in BearCity 2. And so you have this classic avoidance, overprotective madness going on with those two, which just ends up with hilarious results. And the sister's awesome, and she's just a great person that really helps them along. And each characters have great things going on that I don't want to ruin, but
sounds great.
After
no spoilers.
Yeah, I know. After Tyler and Roger, they have their lives to pick up, and it's great. They all come together, and it's a lot of fun. And it's gonna be strong performances, and there will be some more tears like in the second one, I think, because there's some good moments that are really real.
And we know there's a lot that goes into this. You've got to be going crazy at this point, and the focus is squarely on BC3. But and it's the last of the trilogy, right? You've announced at this. Is that primarily because you have other ideas or projects in your mind or on the back burner that you want to move on to? And if so, what, without giving, making any commitments, what kind of direction are you going to be in? Are you still going to be making bear movies, or are you going to be making something maybe a little bit different?
Well, I actually, we'll see. I want to go back to the very first thing I did when I made Raising Heroes, which was the first gay action film, and it was like in 1996. I didn't know how to write a script for shit, but the middle sucks, but the ending is awesome. Like the last 20 minutes of John Woo violence, but it ended up in lots of things. And I said back then what I wanted to do, which was a gay spaghetti western. But that was the next. I wanted to do like Wild Bunch, a Wild Bunch style story, and I wrote
Wild Bunch of Bears.
Yeah, and it's basically a Wild Bunch of Bears, but it's called Out West, and they're looking for a mythical town called Destiny where gay people live free, but they're card sharks, and they rip people off, so they get in some trouble, and so along the way they get in a lot of trouble. And
Wild Bunch mixed with Rounders,
yes,
I got that.
But it was at the time we budgeted, we're like $4 million. Where the freak are we gonna come up with? Forget this shit.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Let's move along. So who knows? That would be wonderful. Yeah. But right now, I really want to. I really think that I've dug deep enough, and it took long enough, as some people would love to tell me, to come up with something that I think is really pure of heart and freaking hilarious. So that's the.
But you made me cry last time, so I'm sure you do it again this time.
Yeah, this one's going to be really good because actually I did a partnership with Growler with Coley, and Coley wrote me that he read the script, and he was cheering up for a part of the script, and he's like, and anybody who knows me knows I'm not a crier, and so I thought that was really sweet. It's working when people are crying over the script. So I was like, that's really nice.
Absolutely. Well, we can't wait to see how things turn out. But in order to see how things turn out, we need to raise the money, right?
Yes, at BearCity3.com.
Yeah. So Doug, obviously BearCity3.com is like the primary portal, right, to go and see the Indiegogo campaign, kind of see all the different perks and stuff you guys have.
Those perks some of those perks are amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like
you want to be in a movie, you can be in a movie.
Yes, totally. And this, the comic book I think was wonderful that Sam came up with Matt, and the stills that he's making. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to have sex with this comic character now. I'm like, not since Star Blazers, I was telling them. I was like, not since Star Blazers have I been in love with the captain.
Oh man, and Matt Broussard, I mean, he is a friend of the show from the Comic Book Bears podcast.
Yeah.
And we know he had a big part in that project. So
yeah. Oh, he's still.
I want that comic book. Like, I want it now. Like,
I need this.
Well, so that's what we thought was important to go ahead and we basically stole the script from Super Troopers, which did a really great way of putting together crowdfunding and giving the people what they wanted while helping make a movie. So we went ahead and we put together all the things that we thought were going to be wonderful. Oh, we let people be creative, like in the video where you can submit these videos. We're letting people name the baby, although my friend told me the name of the baby when he gets the thing. So somebody please beat him to it because it's awful. I'm like, what?
No.
What? So going back to Will's thing, the part 5, part 3, 4, 18 part. With the question in which he said, how is this going to affect the cast or the creativity? We'll see. I mean, I'm a pretty damn good director, but generally, at least, I've seen the person before we get on set. So it should be interesting that some of these people are going to fly in. I think as far as getting a line, this wonderful girl called my producer, was like, I'm going to do it. Is it okay? I'm not gay, I'm not a bear, but I love bears. And I'm like, okay. So, like, it's going to be fun being creative on the set with these people and come up with something fun for them to do because they want to be a part of it. And I thought that was great. So we limited it so the whole film doesn't look a little crazy with people.
Right.
They're like eyes in the Brady Bunch scene when the red light goes on. You're like,
but this is how for people listening to the show, maybe don't know a lot about how independent films are made. More and more are done with this crowdfunding model. Either you hear Kickstarter and now Indiegogo. That's just the way it's done, and it's allowing creative people like Doug and his team to put these movies together for us, and it's a way for us to be involved too. I mean, some of those perks I was mentioning, we're trying to still figure out how we want to get involved, and I kind of like the naked cam time with Michael idea. That's what I like.
Who doesn't like that one, right?
It's not even on the list, man. It's not even on the list.
But that's what the email contacts at
I might have to work. I might have to work that one out one-on-one.
Yeah, but I mean, it really after making 2 movies that barely pay themselves back, and we don't, most of the people on the head don't even take a paycheck to it. It's almost impossible now because people just don't want to pay for stuff anymore. The model has flipped so much that it's just free, and so it is very difficult to get. So I think that this crowdfunding will allow people to still create, and you won't have this funnel between big budget movies, nothing, and then no budget movies. You still need that middle budget of people that are going to do something with some quality that's going to move you, that isn't so generic, but wonderful that these big blockbusters are. But something that has a little more heart, and crowdfunding is literally the only way. Because, like I always said, I couldn't go to New Line and be like, I want to make a movie about fat hairy gay dudes. They're like, what? I'm sorry.
Yeah. How does that make me money? Right.
Yeah. Hello. So this has been great because we make a movie about ourselves, and I believe that people will trust that I will do the best job at doing that in this form as I've done in the past.
Well, Doug, it has been an absolute pleasure having you with us this week to talk about BearCity 3. I know we are all super, super excited, and
oh my God, yes.
We will definitely figure out what we're going to be doing for our contribution to the film. But those of you out in listener land, now is a great chance. We always talk about, right, like, we're sick of the superhero movies, we're sick of the overproduced whatever. This is a great chance to do something.
Seth McFarlane. Oh, never mind.
What? What? Huh?
Yeah,
but
that's a different discussion.
I think we'll talk about that later. But anyway, Doug, we will definitely be putting some links to the Indiegogo and the website in our show notes this week. So listeners, make sure to check out the show notes and head on over to, what was the website again, Doug?
BearCity3.com.
BearCity3.com.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Well, Doug, thank you so much for joining us. Gosh, this is a real treat. I hope we run into you again here real soon, for sure.
Definitely. Right before the premiere. Or maybe we'll get you on the set.
There we go. Hey, that could be fun. What?
All
right. Doug, it has been a pleasure. You have a great night. Thank you for joining us. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning or something.
That's all right. I'm used to it with this Indiegogo campaign. It was just like, it was a lot of work, but it was worth it.
Oh, goodness. All right, Doug.
We're
Thank
excited.
you so much.
All
Take
right,
it easy,
Doug.
handsome. Bye. Oh, man. Love that guy.
Awesome.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to this.
He's a great guest. I can't wait till, I don't know if we'll have him on, I'm sure he'll be so busy during production and stuff, but once the movie's rolling out, that would be fun to have him back, I think.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
I would try to get that. I would love that.
Yeah. I am so rabid for this movie. I can't wait. Something we didn't mention, I just now thought of, for those of you who maybe haven't seen the first couple of films, you can also check those out at BearCity3.com as well. They've got those on there too, so there's a way for you to go in and get on board. We just got a comment from Ben, live comment. He says, Bear City 3, where the fuck happened with Bear City 2? Ben.
Get on it, Ben. Come on, man.
You're a little behind the times, Ben.
We love you, but come on.
Yeah.
We'll point you the right direction. Go to that Indiegogo page, scroll down a little bit further, and the links are right there to be able to watch both Bear City 1 and Bear City 2. You absolutely should. They're a lot of fun. They represent the community extremely well, both the quirky elements of who we are and some of the more heartfelt human elements of who we are as people and as bears and all of that. So get on it, watch them, and also, man, check out these. The stretch goals have really had me excited. Like, there's some where I was just like, oh, if I had the money, I would totally do that. Like, there's so many different things. I want that. I want that. I want that. Like, it's a cool campaign.
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about those, Will.
Yes, we will.
Yes. And I hope our listeners will get on there and take a look. I mean, you can help out for, like, I think it's the lowest one is like $5, something like that. You can kick in and get I forget what it is, but just like a mention or something. I forget what it is, but the perks go all the way from like $5 to like $5,000 or something.
So $5 is the cost of a coffee drink at the Starbucks where the super hot cub that I like to visit every morning is. And for Bear City 3, I am willing to forego at least 20 visits with the hot Starbucks cub.
Oh, so I'm kind of getting an idea of what part of the what different perks you'll be claiming.
Oh goodness, indeed. So awesome. So Ben says it's not on Netflix. Is Bear City 2 on Netflix?
I don't know if they're on Netflix.
I don't know. I don't believe it is.
I think they have their own distribution, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they've got their own thing going. But again, if you go to BearCity3.com and keep scrolling down, like Will said, you will for sure find it. And Bear City 2, I mean, in my opinion, was the best of the bunch so far. I mean, I love that movie so much. So Ben, get on it, go see it. Let us know what you think. But yeah,
there's a lot of stuff I wish was on Netflix that's just not there, you know.
Yeah, it's Netflix. Yeah. It's Netflix. Unless you like lesbians with saggy titties and
God,
superheroes, Netflix is, I don't know. And
Netflix has a ton of things. Let's be fair, but it doesn't have this particular film, which is a shame because it should be more readily accessible. But again, it's on YouTube. You can watch it right now.
I'm kidding. We watch a ton of Netflix. We just shotgunned Orange is the New Black. We've watched Daredevil. I kid about saggy titties, but they have really great programming. But they don't have Bear City 2. So BearCity3.com. All right. Well, shall we get to last week's homework, guys? Or it's a choose your own adventure. Get ready. Or do you want the results of our contest from last week?
Ooh, let's do the contest. Let's do the contest for a very specific reason. Because I'm almost out of beer, and I want to do the contest while I still have beer in hand.
Ah, there you go. All right. All right. So last week we had a fun little contest. We put on Facebook and Twitter a call out that if you emailed us at brad@moviebearspodcast.com, I guess technically you're emailing me, but by emailing me, you're emailing us.
All of us.
Yeah, definitely. And our contest entry question was, what kind of beer was Will drinking last week? And we had a few entries. They were, you know, some you could tell they were guessing. Okay, whatever. But we did have a few that were right, and our winner chicken dinner is Steve of Sacramento Movie Bears.
Go Steve!
Steve, congratulations, my friend. You are going to get a digital Fandango gift card from the Movie Bears podcast. It's going to have our logo and everything, so you can think of us when you go see a movie. But way to go for winning the podcast. Those of you who did not win, we'll be doing another one of those soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But enjoy a movie on us. And another comment from Sam. He says, you can watch Bear City 1 or Bear City 2 at BearCity3.com for free. Did you hear that, Ben? Free.
Really?
At the bottom of the page. And if you love the movies as much as we do, and I'm pretty sure you will, you can get involved, as Sam says, with Bear City 3 because you're already on the page. So check it out. Sam, thanks for that. Absolutely. Want to make sure people know they can watch those films. For free.
I knew that. I know they had a streaming link on BearCity.com, but I didn't know they had a free one on BearCity3.com. So
they did. Cool. I even was watching Bear City 2 earlier today off of that link, and yeah, it's accessible. It's there. Watch it, and then do like I did. Be super impressed, and then
there you go.
Contribute to Bear City 3.
There you go. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's. So, live comment from Steve from Sacramento Movie Bears.
Hey, Steve.
Yay! With like 25 Y's and exclamation point. Congratulations. Oh. All right. Well, let's get to our homework from last week. So.
Homework.
I know. Last week. Last week we reviewed Inside Out, the new film.
This podcast used to fucking be fun. Now I gotta fucking do homework.
What is this, calculus fucking island? Is that what?
No. Let me intro the segment, you assholes.
Go for it.
In a hurry, I guess.
Yeah. So last week we reviewed Inside Out. I don't know if everyone has seen it yet. We don't want to give anything away. They're kind of in the trailer, sort of, but semi-spoiler warning, I guess. It posits this image of like your core identity being like a series of core memories, which are tied to like these islands in your subconscious that represent different aspects of your like humanity. Like maybe there's Family Island or Friend Island, where like the identity of your family or your love of your friends, where those things are born and live. But then there could be things like Hockey Island, because you really love hockey, or
Goofball Island.
Or Goofball Island, or Tumblr Island, you know, whatever those things are that you just really love, you know what I mean? So our homework was to come up with our 5 islands. And we're just gonna kind of read through those pretty quick because it's fun. We also had a listener send in his islands.
Ooh.
And so we're gonna read through those as well. Let me start with his, actually. So Ron Phillips II writes in. He has a Nomad RV island because he was a Navy brat, and he just moves around and loves to see the wonders of everything. He wants to experience it all, so that's one of his. He, gets a little vulnerable with us. He says he has Dad Park, which is where there's some maybe some daddy issues and memories of, dad times. He also says that the older guy daddy thing is probably on that island too.
That daddy island.
There you go. He says another one is Friend Family Festival Island because the family you choose is so much better in blood, and he thinks about the party that he threw at his house and playing games with friends and stealing booze and all kinds of crazy stuff, which is awesome. He talks about Token Town being another of his islands.
Token Town.
Where all people of all, different sex and religion and gender and color and, all these things. Ron says he likes to, each person he meets, he wants to be the best person he can be and be unforgettable. So that's Token Town. And his other island would be Geektopia, because that's where all his nerdy anime gaming cartoon fun comes from. And I gotta love this guy because he mentioned Captain N, and I freaking love Captain N. Oh my God, Will, sorry Jim, you're totally out of this conversation for a second. Will, I took my NES controller and wrapped it around my waist like a belt so that I could press the buttons and pretend that they would make me jump high or run super fast.
I wanted to get sucked into my Nintendo system so bad as a kid. Just I want to do that. I can do that. And it obviously never happened.
So I take it Captain N was something to do with Nintendo.
Yes.
Yeah, he was an avid Nintendo player who one day gets sucked into his Nintendo and becomes the savior of the Nintendo world, fighting the evil Mother Brain from Metroid and pairing up with Kid Icarus,
Mega Man, and
yep. Totes, Magoats. Anyway,
never even knew of it.
Good stuff. All right. Well, Jim, why don't you kick us off? What are your 5 islands?
You want me to run through my 5 islands?
I want you to give us your island love.
I kind of had trouble coming up with my 5 islands, and I think it's because, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm older, and minor spoilers for Inside Out is that, as maybe you get older, maybe these islands do kind of, fade away a little bit or get replaced by other islands, right? Or 2 islands can morph into 1 or whatever. But, I guess, and taking stock of the islands is really kind of like it became kind of a personal thing. You have to self-examine and say, what are my real care abouts? What do I, really love? And of course, we decided, Brad, right, to leave Family and Friends Island kind of off this list.
Yeah, because those are kind of a given island.
Yeah, and that's a given because they're obvious, right? Obviously, my Brad Island is, right there in the middle. But
you have a Brad Island? That's adorable.
Brad Island, but even
do you lava him?
I lava him. Do I sing the lava song?
You should.
I once was a volcano
alone in the sea.
That's exactly how it sounds. That is exactly
me.
Good job.
Anyway, it was a pretty interesting exercise this afternoon. Anyway, my first island is going to be Movie Island. Duh.
What?
Right? I mean,
totally.
We love movies. I'd be surprised if you guys didn't at least think of that, or maybe you thought of it and thought that I would steal it, but whatever. But Movie Island is definitely one of my 5. I have a special one called Childhood Memories Island that I like to visit. Kind of my nostalgia island, and maybe all of them could be nostalgia islands, but this is one where I keep just a collection of things that stick out from my childhood. Maybe it's those core memories, I don't know, but that I think is an island. But so that's one, and it's kind of right next to what would be my family island, because of course family factors into a lot of those core memories and those childhood memories. So that's 2. The third one I've called Science and How It Works Island.
Nice.
Right. But from when I was a kid, I was always super curious about how things worked, and I had chemistry sets and telescope kits and microscope kits. I'd make little things and put them under the microscope. Planets and stuff. I had a huge curiosity for oceanography, and I wanted to be an oceanographic scientist. That never panned out, so that part of the island kind of crashed and went away. And but now I guess that's morphed into more like a let me fix it island, right? So that's where my Science and How It Works island is still there, but it's a little bit different now. And then there's Sports Ball Island.
Nice.
I've always loved sports. I've back to when I was growing up, I played Little League baseball, high school soccer. I coached and refereed soccer. youth soccer and like a men's league soccer. But nowadays it's called U of A Wildcat Island. Woo! Bear down, yo. Wow. And then, so that's 4. My last one is I'm starting to develop my own Monster Island.
Oh, Monster Island sounds fun.
Yeah, it is very much fun.
It's right behind him.
And it's ruled by the king of monsters, of course, Godzilla, at least for the time being. But this is a kind of a relatively new island. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's an island that went dormant for a while in my adulthood, and now I'm kind of revisiting that island. But those are my 5. Movie Island, Childhood Memories Island, The Science and How It Works, or Fix-It Island, Sports Ball Island, and Monster Island.
Hey, Jim, I have a question for you.
What's that?
Would Bing Bong live on your Monster Island? Bing Bong.
He could live wherever he wants if he, as long as he's not afraid of the other monsters there. They always do need things to eat, so he's welcome.
Jim needs a Bing Bong.
Yeah, I never had an imaginary friend that I knew about. I don't know. You know what's sad is that maybe there was a time I had an imaginary friend, and he's totally gone now. Like,
hey, Jim.
Totally wiped out. Like I never remembered him.
That's so sad.
I know, it's so sad. But what are you gonna do?
Embrace the sadness. That's what you're gonna do.
That's right.
Maybe my imaginary friend fell into the memory dump and never came out.
Maybe.
That's so sad.
All right. Well, what are your islands, my friend?
All right, my islands. Island number 1 is Jim. I wasn't concerned as much with like the islands that other people were gonna pick because I figured there's overlap.
That's fine. Yep.
My
That's right.
So island number 1 is Movies Island. This is my. So Movies Island occupies a very important role in my life, not only because of like the podcast and all of that, but my boyfriend works 2 jobs, and so there's often times where I'm just like, I have the house to myself, and what am I gonna do? Throw on a movie. So it's definitely a way for me. During the course of the week, I spend a lot of times with film. It's the best friend that I can turn on just like that. I have other best friends I can turn on just like that, but that's on a different island.
Don't pat yourself on the back too hard, Will.
those ones live on island number 2, which I'm gonna call Pride and Gay Stuff's Island.
Nice.
And so in this one, it's a multifaceted island. I'm proud of being a gay man. My identity, my relationship with my boyfriend is on this island. A lot of my friendships, those are all on this island. But also on this island is the list of butts that I want to touch, the penis pics I've seen on Tumblr, Mobley, and Growler. So all of the uplifting Pride things and all of the kind of the raunchy things too, they all live on Pride and Gay Stuff's Island.
That island would never make it into a Pixar movie.
No. Never, not one bit.
Its neighbor is Tumblr Island.
Yeah, it's Tumblr Island is annexed by Pride and Gay Stuff's Island. Island number 3 is my dog's island. My dogs are a very important part of my life. My Raina, Penny, and Huck, and of course the dogs that I've had in the past. Dogs that I just meet in the, someone walking their dog, like I've got to stop and I've got to pet it. I'm so much a dog person, so much so that my day job is I've mentioned on the show that I do social media marketing, digital marketing, but our business is 100% focused on veterinary practices. So I all day long I'm dealing with veterinarians, dealing with dog pictures, etc. And then I get off work and then I'm playing with my dog. So life is good. Yeah. Island number 4 is this one lines up very closely with Ron's. I call this my geekdom. And this is such a catch-all island. This is where I put my love of comic books, of role-playing games, of science fiction, fantasy, Adventure Time, and Steven Universe. Whatever it is I'm currently geeking out over lives on geekdom. Geekdom changes constantly because there may be something that comes around tomorrow that I'm going to be super passionate about, and it's going to find its way into geekdom because that's just how I am. I find something and I latch on. I just don't let go until the next thing comes along. And then island number 5, and I'm cheating a little bit because I have an island and a half after this one. But island 5 is Performance Island. I'm a ham. As you guys may have realized from doing this show, and I wanted to kind of encapsulate some of this. I love doing this show and just being able to just like ejaculate my opinions out there, you know.
Whoa.
You know, not I know, right? Same thing with like if anyone follows me on social media, like I'm not shy about posting stuff, and part of that is kind of that performance bug. I grew up doing a lot of theater all through high school and college. Like if I wasn't on the stage, I felt emotionally starved. Nowadays it's this show, kind of doing role-playing games with friends, and the occasional karaoke outing that fills that need. And the half island I was mentioning, and this is where I'm kind of cheating and adding a sixth one. Is I think sometimes even this at this part of my life, new islands can form, new core memories can be formed, and lately weightlifting island has been one for me. I have been all about lifting weights lately. Like my new happy place is going to the gym and just trying to push new personal bests, and it's something that if at 2014 and before Will would have thought that that island doesn't exist. Fuck you, weightlifting, no. But it's been such a huge part of my year that I think it's a new kind of a baby island that's forming, but it's certainly there.
Awesome. Gosh,
just forming from a little volcano.
It's just a little bitty island. Little bitty island.
It was under the water, weightlifting starfish, and then one day it rose to the top.
Why are we not working for Pixar?
Speaking of Pixar, so we got a live comment while you were talking, Will, and I didn't want to interrupt you. But longtime fan of the show, Francisco Salgado, says, my partner says Will's Pride Island may show up in a Pixar movie.
Pixar, I love
great.
it.
That's awesome. He's also thrilled, Will, that we each have Bing Bongs, and he wanted to let us know that Hot Topic has a transparent exclusive edition of Bing Bong, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if you, spoiler alert, want to enjoy seeing why he turned transparent on your desk every day, if that would make you happy, then pick one up by all means.
May warrant a trip to the local Hot Topic.
Hey Brad,
Maybe.
What are your islands?
Actually, I'm gonna read through Sacramento Movie Rare Steve's islands real quick because he just sent those in.
Oh, yes.
He has College Life Island, which is Friends Fraternity Football. He has Cartoons I Saw as a Kid Island. He has That Perfect Response I Should Have Said to That Asshole Before He Walked Away Island as well, as Tumblr Island. So, awesome. All right, so my islands, here we go. So I have Ursine Island, which is my love of the bear community, my discovery that I could be loved for my size instead of shunned for it, meeting amazing people like you guys and Doug Langway and everyone who's part of this whole bear thing that is such a huge part of my life. I would say Jim Island is the volcano that juts up like right through the middle of Bear Island and coats everything in
lava.
Lava goodness.
My lava
erupts over all the bear goodness.
Is that on Tumblr Island too?
Do you want me to shoot my lava all over you?
Oh my God, we've earned an explicit rating for this segment alone.
Somewhere, Adrian Charlie's face is redder than mine is.
That's the moment right there.
This is our moment, okay.
I'm not saying something because, I'm dependent on bright white lights to hide how red my face is from getting sunburned this weekend. So his face is probably redder than mine. But Ursine Island, there's Saturday Morning Island, which is the home of my inner child. I talk about drinking juice boxes with my inner child, watching old He-Man and Voltron and Thundercat cartoons. That's where all of that lives. That's probably one of my more visited islands.
I had one of those, too. It's gone. Yeah.
Fell into the memory dump.
It did, kind of.
There's Techno Island, which is totally like Tomorrowland in its heyday. That's my love of gadgetry and electronics and, just all things that you have to charge and use to enhance your life. And, I work in the tech industry, and that's such a big part of who I am because I fucking love technology. So there's IMAX Island, where we have 28 mega screens constantly showing a rotation of my favorite movies, which probably explains why random bits of dialogue and flashes of scenes are always popping up in my head and bashing up against each other. Right now, the movie of the week is Spaceballs. So buy your tickets on Brad Dango and come watch a movie on IMAX Island with me. And then my last island is Melody Horror Island, and that's the island that's collected all these songs that have gotten into my head because of these awesome melodies that you just can't forget. We're talking like Backstreet Boys and Celine Dion, and it's like the collection place for like every terrible song that has a catchy melody that you just can't, get out of your head. I want it that way. You know what I mean? But also a lot of great songs too. Music is a big part of my life as well. So for every terrible melody that I can't get out of my head, there's some phenomenal ones that live in there too. Like the John Williams Superman theme, for instance. All kinds of great stuff. So
thanks for bringing me to your Melody Horror Island pretty much a few times a week.
You're welcome.
With some earworm that he'll put in there. Like he'll start singing a song and it's like it's weird. It's like I don't know what kind of it's the connection we have. Like I'll start singing it all of a sudden.
That's the great thing about like a good relationship is I think you become someone else's islands become a small part of your own life as well. Like you may not be Jim, you may not be on Brad's Melody Horror Island, but Brad lets you come and visit from time to time by sharing those tunes. I mean, I probably do the same around the house with my performance island. Like, pretty much any given time, I'm bursting out some fucking random song as I'm walking through the shower, just like in the bathroom, just walking through the hallway. And my boyfriend Scott is just like he takes it in stride. He never tells me to shut up. He never says, "Come on, I'm watching TV." He's just good for letting me visit Performance Island when I need it.
You must keep that hidden when it's not just you and him around the house.
Oh, you guys have stayed here, and it was just like I'd be in the shower, just like. Nope, I guess cannot visit singing out loud like a douchebag islands.
Hey, Scott did not refrain himself, and I very much enjoyed his shower karaoke. So you should have done it too, because he was a brave little toaster and let it out, and I enjoyed it immensely. So next time we're staying with you, Will, don't hold back.
We each have to do one. We'll each have to visit our Melody Island, Melody Horror Island.
Melody Horror Island. The karaoke at the local bear bar. We'll do that.
There you go.
Karaoke will shower.
Karaoke at the Iron Bear. Well, that's a different one. That's our web exclusive.
Can we all fit in that shower?
No, 2 can, not 3.
How do you know this? Anyway,
pride of silence.
Well, anyway, guys, I hope my homework for you two and some of our listeners was not too awful traumatic. I had a fun time kind of thinking.
No, it was fun. That was a fun segment.
Yeah, I was teasing earlier. I actually had a lot of fun with that.
Good, because next week's homework is calculus, so get ready.
Yay!
No, given our movie this week, I guess our homework would be like smoking a bunch of weed and like vegging out on the couch. I guess that's the Ted 2 homework.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know. Yeah, that's bad.
That's thematically appropriate.
No, it's the cracker in the guy's butt crack Olympics.
Oh, is that what it is?
Is that what? So I need to find that guy and just.
It's the butt crack toss. You gotta get 3 in a row.
All right.
Oh goodness.
This is why I'm banned from Craigslist. Just kidding.
On that note. Oh, all right. Well, guys, we are going to be talking about TED 2, and I think this is a great time to go ahead and segue over. Just to kind of give you a heads up, if you are listening to our show for the first time or you're unfamiliar with our format, we like to talk about movies absolutely spoiler-free. And we are pretty strict about that no-spoiler policy. Other podcasts are like, let's talk about it without spoilers and tell you every fucking thing in the movie, but it's not a spoiler because some weird reason I don't even understand. You just ruin the movie for everybody. But we don't do that. We like to help you keep your virginal innocence, at least until we give the spoiler warning and move on from there. So, but yeah, so if you were on the fence about seeing TED 2, go ahead, hang out, listen to our spoiler-free thoughts. If you've seen the movie or you don't care about being spoiled, then you can hang tight and stick with us for spoilers. But here we go, our discussion of TED 2. So, Jim,
Hmm.
you have the distinct honor of giving us the setup for this movie, your initial thoughts on this movie, and whether you think people should go out and see this movie or wait for rental or skip it entirely.
I'm happy to have that honor. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
Anyway, so what we have here is Ted 2. It's a sequel to the movie Ted from, I think, 2 years ago. I'm not sure, maybe 3 years ago. It's the Seth MacFarlane written and directed movie, starring Mark Wahlberg and a bunch of other folks, and a anthropomorphized teddy bear named Ted. If you saw the original movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the second one. I'll read the IMDb plot synopsis so you guys have an idea what's going on. Newlywed couple Ted, that's the bear, and Tammy Lynn, who he struck up a relationship with in the first movie, if you remember, want to have a baby. But in order to qualify to be a parent, Ted will have to prove he's a person in a court of law. So basically what happens, and it's all within this synopsis, they want to have a baby. Ted doesn't have a penis. He's an anthropomorphized teddy bear, but he doesn't have genitals, and he cannot reproduce sexually. Also, we find out that Tammy Lynn cannot conceive a child either. So So what they do is they try to adopt, and then they find out, oh, they can't adopt because Ted isn't actually, he can't qualify to be an adoptive parent because he's not even a person. He's a thing or an object. And so they go to court to prove that he is a person after all. And so that's kind of the plot of the movie. I don't know what else I could say about this movie. For me, it just wasn't a very good movie. I don't believe it was as good as the first Ted movie, and the first Ted movie was okay. This one just didn't rise up to that level for a number of reasons. But then again, it's a movie about an oversexed, vulgar teddy bear who spells out Family Guy-style jokes pretty much the whole movie. So I guess going into the movie, I probably should have known what I was getting. That's kind of what I got. They have this plot that I just talked about, kind of laid over it to kind of lay out the structure of the story, which was kind of silly. I mean, the plot really didn't do anything other than provide a framework, I guess, to hang the gags on for the movie. Maybe this movie would have been a better movie for me if it was just the gags without what I thought was kind of the dumb plot, because every time they got into courtroom scene or lawyer scene, it wasn't really that great for me. Also, it was kind of an interesting timing on this movie, coming out the day of the Supreme Court's announcement for equal rights, equal marriage rights.
Seth MacFarlane's tweet got him a lot of.
Yeah, we could talk about that. We could talk about that too. And actually, in the movie, I don't know if it was. I don't know how it could have been intended, but part of the thing about the plot is it could have been drawn as a parallel to the gays fighting for rights, whereas Ted was fighting for his right as a person as well. I suppose that could have been what McFarlane was going for, but if it was, it just didn't work. And so, yeah, I mean, there were a few chuckles in this movie, but generally I'm not a huge fan of Family Guy at all, the Family Guy show, and Seth MacFarlane's movies have not really done it for me. We saw Once Upon a Time in the West. Was that? No.
A Million Ways
to Die in the West.
A Million Ways to Die in the West last year, which was probably one of our worst movies of the year last year.
Yeah.
This one was better than that, but not as good as the first Ted, as far as I'm concerned. We could talk about some of the reasons why when we get into spoilers. I'll let somebody else talk. I guess I'd have an issue to endorsing this movie or recommending this movie to anybody. There are some really good summer movies that are still out, and I wouldn't spend your summer movie money going to see this movie. If you want to see a good summer comedy, go see Spy, or if you've already seen it, go see it again, because you're not going to get much out of Ted 2, I don't think. Pretty forgettable for me.
Mm. How about you, Will?
Yeah. Well, before I dive in, we do have a listener comment I'd like to read. Yeah. This one.
Jim sucks. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
No. It says Jim sucks and he doesn't know. No. This is from Boss MRG. He says, "Love y'all's podcast. Listening at work really helps. Thank you all." Hey, thank you for listening at work.
Oh.
Don't let your boss hear.
Anytime we can help someone out at work, man. I'm glad to.
Totally. Yeah. Like, there's those mind-numbing moments at work where you're just like, anything to like push through this next hour. It's like, hey, I'm glad we can be a part of that.
Maybe Boss Merge MRG. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Maybe he has one of those really cool jobs where you can like listen to music all the time. You know what I mean, while you're working. So
yeah. Hey, that's cool. And if so, then we're very happy that you chose us.
We'll try to take it easy on the explicit parts, but no promises. No promises.
We're reviewing Ted 2, so either we're really, really into it and are going to curse out of sympathy for the film, or we really didn't like it and we're going to curse out of sympathy for our fried brain cells. So yeah, for me, the first Ted film for me was actually okay. I kind of liked the first Ted film, kind of against what I was expecting. It's just one joke repeated throughout the entire runtime of the film. What happens when this magical talking childhood toy grows up and drinks, curses, and smokes a bunch of pot? It kind of worked. That one joke stretched out over the entire runtime of that first film kind of worked. But the problem is now we're back with the inevitable sequel, which I'm sure was spurred on by the fact that first film I think it did better than a lot of people were expecting, both critically and financially. So because of those things, we're in Sequel Town. And Sequel Town is all about the exact same joke from the first one, what happens when a cute, cuddly bear curses a lot. This time told over 130 minutes, so 2 hours and 10-minute runtime for this movie. And it did not work at all for me. The joke was dead on arrival here, worked in the first film, did not work here. I find Ted as a character harder and harder to like as this film progresses. He's this incredibly selfish character who doesn't seem to learn a lot about himself as he's going through the journey. We'll talk in spoilers about that, but it's fun to root for an unlikable character. Think about the Grinch, or the Billy Bob character from Bad Santa. These are characters that work not only because they're vulgar and crass, but because we get to see how they're changed by the events. And Ted's kind of the same. He's just kind of the same character. He's the same character as he was in the first one, and he stays pretty stagnant a lot in this film, and that makes him really hard to care for when he's being a bore. It just doesn't make you feel like you want to be on his side. There are some cutaway side gags. You mentioned this, Jim. Seth MacFarlane has this like Family Guy style where like someone will be talking and it'll be like, man, it's almost like this, and then it cuts over and shows whatever that random non sequitur is. A few of those kind of worked here, maybe even a little bit better than the plot of the film itself. But the problem is that those types of cutaway gags and non sequiturs work a lot better in like a 22-minute format than they do in a 2-hour-plus feature film. And again, that type of gag can work. Think about like a Mel Brooks movie. Those are all about just kind of random like non sequiturs. But the thing about those is the absurdist humor is kind of solid and consistent all the way through, and it's funny. There's always something new that's kind of flying off the screen at you. Here, we have a film that wants to have an emotional center and doesn't commit to having that emotional center. It wants to be nonsensical and silly, but it's not consistent in being funny with that, and the blending of the two becomes a true disservice. And the last thing I've got before handing the baton over is I totally agree, Brad. One of my big problems with this film is its themes. This film wanted to parallel both the history of black people as properties and gay people fighting for equality in marriage. And I say that it wanted to do that because it referenced both at some point in the film. But usually through throwaway lines like this black cashier just kind of saying, oh, property like us, or Ted talking about the plight of, quote, fags. The problem I had is that the parallels are so freaking obvious. They're right there. Like, a really good filmmaker, and scratch that, an adequate filmmaker would have picked up on all of these really solid, applicable themes and would have tied them in more appropriate. And to me, it's almost lazy that they didn't draw those parallels more effectively, because that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about a character that wants to have the same rights as other human beings. And to not look at the actual things that are currently happening in the world that parallel that, and do so in a way that is both respectful and insightful, I feel like is a missed opportunity. So yeah, I can't recommend this movie. There are some laughs to be had. This is a lot better than A Million Ways to Die in the West for me, but that wasn't saying a lot. I didn't care for that movie much. The first Ted was good. This film is middle of the ground at best, but I think I'm going to go out and say that this was a bad film, one that I don't recommend you watch unless you just need to see a cursing bear. Like, if that's a need that you have, if that's a void in your life that you need filled, maybe you should go see Ted. But otherwise, I can't recommend it.
Yeah, hate to rank on our fellow bears, but
yeah, I know, right?
Gotta do what you got to do.
Ted, sorry, Ted.
Yeah. So before I go into my feelings, I do want to talk about the Seth MacFarlane tweet. I know it's gotten a lot of news play already, but you know what? It's topical for our show. He tweeted out on the day we found out, of course, that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of marriage being marriage to everybody. He says, celebrate the legalization of same-sex marriage by going to see Ted 2 as he fights for his rights. And I was just curious, guys, I mean, did you feel offended by that, or do you think people are making a big thing out of nothing?
Go first, Jim.
Not offended. I don't think I was offended. I was like, really, Seth? You gonna try to self-promote your movie on this struggle, that people have had? I just think it was kind of cheap. You know what I mean? It didn't offend me. It just felt cheap, and I'm like, well, whatever. I just, whether I'm gonna see the movie or not is not because Seth MacFarlane says I should celebrate marriage equality by seeing his movie. I mean, I'm going to decide to see his movie whether I'm going to see it or not, and that's it. Yeah, it didn't offend me at all. I don't know, but on the other hand, on Facebook, people don't need much to get offended about these days,
right?
And they'll start, raging on anything. So yeah, it was odd. I thought it was odd, not offensive to me.
It didn't really offend me either, because it was just marketing, and a lot of brands were out there marketing at the same time. Like, there were dozens of brands that found a way to market themselves off of this. The difference being, a lot of those other brands found a way to do it in a very respectful manner. This wasn't offensive, but it was tacky. And I think there's one of them causes me to get upset. Like, if it was straight out offensive, then that would be one thing. This was tacky, so it made me roll my eyes, and it didn't inspire any strong "I gotta go see Ted" feelings. And if anything, it kind of highlighted one of my big faults with the film itself, is that I think that the film lacked a sense of self-awareness in terms of the other or not self-awareness, of general awareness of the issues and kind of how they applied. In this case, they took something that was very, very wide-reaching and affects a lot of people, and found a way to turn it into the most selfish-sounding tweet possible. And that's exactly how Ted is in this movie. So yeah, I wasn't offended, but it was not it wasn't an effective tweet.
I've seen a lot of rage about this tweet. I don't feel that rage. I'm with you guys. I just kind of rolled my eyes and was like, whatever. But I think a lot of people are very genuinely upset. And it's interesting. We ended up seeing this movie on Friday, the day of the ruling, not because of the tweet, but just because it was Friday night, and Friday night date
night.
Yeah, movie night. What? But yeah, interesting. Okay, so my feelings on this movie. I wish I could say that I was gonna be the one that brings this whole thing back up.
He loved it.
I didn't love the movie. I don't think I hated the movie. I just was, I don't know. It's a big steaming pile of meh for me. I liked some of the performances. I mean, Mark Wahlberg, I do like Mark Wahlberg quite a bit. It was fun. Some of his jokes. I like some of his, like, oblivious stoner, no-brainer kind of shtick sometimes. I did like Amanda Seyfried in this movie. Thought she was fun. It was interesting to see her in that role. I'm not spoiling anything. It was interesting to see her in that kind of role. I'm so used to, seeing her in like high caliber things, that it was interesting. Giovanni Ribisi, I always love that guy. But a little of him for me goes a long way in these kinds of roles for him. And I felt like this time out of the gate they forgot what made him great in the first movie and like emphasized all the wrong things, which is unfortunate. But we had Morgan Freeman, who I love me some Morgan Freeman. Michael Dorn, Worf from Star Trek. Patrick Warburton, who I've had a bear crush on since I was like 12. Lot of
bulge.
We did get to see his bulge. I mean, I've seen more than his bulge thanks to other movies. But it was, I don't know, lots of cool like cast stuff going on, lots of fun cameos. Yep. Mm-hmm. But for me, that's kind of where it stops. I think I laughed. I didn't laugh. I chuckled a couple times through this whole movie. And you guys know me. My funny bone is in a weird place anyway. So like when we see these comedy films, like I am not the best one, I guess, to identify with, like, I think how normal people experience comedy. But it all fell so flat for me. And I like Family Guy a lot, but I got away from Family Guy because I got really tired of how reliant it became on the non sequiturs. Because the non sequiturs, I mean, by their very definition, they're non sequiturs. But, Jim, I think you hit the nail on the fucking head earlier. When Family Guy became more about the framework for hanging those gags on, and I love your wording, that's where it was just too much for me. Because, like, there wasn't like heart and story anymore. It was just like, oh, how can we get through a plot line to have this really funny bit? You know what I mean? And I feel like this movie is so much of that. And it's unfortunate because I liked the first Ted movie quite a bit. I don't remember exactly where I came down, compared to you guys at the time. I know we reviewed it. But I enjoyed it. So I had kind of good expectations going into this one, and it was just kind of a big letdown. I think part of it for me is I don't know, the Peter Griffin voice. Every time I hear it, it's Peter Griffin in my head a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ted had a much bigger part in this movie. Like the last movie was like more about Mark Wahlberg, and Ted was sort of an accomplice, fun buddy comedy. And this movie was more Ted with like Mark Wahlberg sort of flitting around the edges of what's going on. And I think it was too much. The balance wasn't great for me. You know what I mean? So overall, I mean, for me, this is like a D+, C-, somewhere in there. I would say, if you're looking for a date night movie and you really enjoyed the first one, you can certainly go check it out. But I think you'd probably be doing yourself a favor if you just waited for like Redbox, you know what I mean, or Blockbuster Video. Do those even exist anymore? Blockbuster.
I think a few might. I'm not
sure. I still see them from time to time. Like I like that's a Blockbuster and then it closed down, and that's a Blockbuster and then it closed down. But I still see ones that are open from time to time, and it's always like, I don't know. It's like discovering like a hidden treasure or something. Just like, oh my god, a real Blockbuster in the wild.
Let's go to the new releases section.
How do I go to them? I drive right past them, go home, and stream.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it for non-spoilers. I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time in spoilers, but are you guys ready to dig into it a little deeper?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so if you have not seen this movie and you do not want to be spoiled, now is your chance. If you are watching live, come back in about 10 minutes, catch our plugs. If you're listening on digital tape delay in iTunes, Stitcher, or on our website, refer to our handy-dandy show note index, show time note, whatever the hell it is, and just go ahead and skip ahead. But here we go. Spoilers for Ted 2 are fair game. You guys sort of lit up a little bit when I mentioned Amanda. Did you want to...
Best joke of the movie.
You think?
For me.
Best joke of the movie. I think.
Yeah.
Are we all agreed on?
I think we are.
Yeah, and they're in the diner and they're talking about their eyes and they're like, "What do your eyes say?" And Ted turns to her and says, "Your eyes say, oh, what was the line? Give me the ring or something like that."
Yeah. Take the ring to Mordor or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, what was great about it for me was like it was a recurring joke because we have a couple of these little setups. We're spoiler section now, right?
Yep.
So we have a couple of these references to her being Gollum. And by the way, kudos to Amanda Seyfried for being in on the joke on that. Like I think a lot of actresses would not be willing to like.
It could be considered mean-spirited, right?
I mean, it is kind of
mean-spirited, but between friends, it's not. You know what I mean?
And she's in on the joke. So we have a couple of these references, and there's this long sequence at the end where they're at Comic-Con, which has some fantastic sequences and some terrible sequences. That's such a mixed bag there. But just during all of the chaos, there's this moment where Amanda Seyfried turns over, and there's a Gollum staring back at her, and it was perfect. Like I laughed. You know, this was a movie that struggled to get laughs out of me in a lot of places and frustrated me in a lot of places and felt tedious in a lot of places. But when one of those laughs really hit, it hit really hard, and this was one of them. Like I had a belly laugh at that moment and just how well timed it was.
And here's an example of, I mean, there's one that did work, and I think it worked for pretty much all of us. At least the first time. For me, it was kind of diminishing returns every time they hit it. You know what I mean? I didn't laugh as hard as I did the last time they mentioned it. Another one was the one where they're in the lawyer's office and they're getting high with Amanda Seyfried, and they're like, the name of the pot was like, "Help, I can't find my way home" or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then of course the next thing, you know, the non sequitur, right? They show Mark Wahlberg in the corner, "Help me, I can't find my way home." And I didn't think that was that funny. And then of course they hit it again like 2 minutes later. They're walking home, and he's like, "Oh, I can't find my way home again." You know, like, I don't know. I think that's part of me. Like, some of the stuff that fell flat for me when they kept repeating it, I was like, okay, guys, come on. They gotta move on or something, you know?
Gotta move on.
That kind of tell the joke and then show the joke over and over and over again is didn't work for me in more cases than it actually worked.
See, I don't know. For me, those worked a little better because a lot of the other jokes that they told weren't that good. So, like, when they went back to the well with something that was funny the first time, it was at least better than the other stuff that we were getting instead. So, small praise.
Yeah.
But the funniest stuff, like, whenever it got back to the plot, like, it got back to feeling like either Ted being mean-spirited about something or the film not knowing how to really capture its emotional core. The non-sequitur stuff, for as much as we're kind of like ragging on it a bit, and it deserves to be ragged on because it was over-relied on here, those were the funniest sequences. Like, those were the things. Yeah. There was this one where, I mean, it was... he's having at the very beginning of the movie, Ted's having a fight with Tammy Lynn and like the neighbors yelling at him, and they start having the shouting match out the window.
Right.
And then like all of a sudden they team up to like yell at this other person, and it was like that was funny enough for me. That was fine. Yeah, I mean it worked for me. You know, it's not joke of the year material, but it was at least
that was classic Family Guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that was classic Family Guy. Yeah. But again, it was those moments where it got back to the story. And you mentioned it before, Giovanni Ribisi was absolutely wasted here. In fact, I don't think he was necessary in this movie at all. I think you could have cut him and the chase sequence and all of that stuff out, wrote around it, and been a little bit better. Like I like him. I think he's a great actor, but I don't think he did this movie any justice, and I don't think this movie did him any justice either.
The best part with him in the movie was toward the end when they said, "We know how to get him," and you know when they had all the turtles in a row, and they're like, "Which one is he?" And they played was it Tiffany song?
Right.
I think you're alone now, and he starts to dance.
Now. Yeah.
Instead of just lifting off the heads.
Well, yeah, because it was a throwback to the first movie, and I thought that was pretty sharp. I did enjoy that one. What did you guys think of the whole Comic-Con thing?
So I actually liked that quite a bit, and I'll tell you why. I'm a big geek. we restricted it
Geek
to 5
Island.
islands. We restricted it to 5 islands. Will cheated. But I definitely have, big old dork island. And so I love that stuff. But what I really, really loved about the Comic-Con stuff was all the Star Trek stuff in the background that we got to see.
The whole movie.
I know, but especially at the Comic-Con scene, like we had Michael Dorn, who of course played Worf, dressed in like homebrewed like Worf cosplay.
Second string Worf.
Yeah, which oh my god, like I did think that was really funny. I liked seeing like people dressed like Kirk and Picard, like fighting in the background. I liked seeing the Gorn fighting Godzilla. I thought that was really funny. I thought it was neat seeing that big, huge, like Next Generation Enterprise D. Of course, it swings down and
takes out
Wahlberg. But I don't know. I liked a lot of that stuff. In a way, that was a little distracting too, because like Ted is like running for his life, and I'm like, dude, that girl's costume is fucking sick. That's awesome. And I'm like, oh wait, what's going on with Ted again? What? But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. How about you, Will?
I liked I liked a lot of it. Because the nerdy stuff, again, it was all non sequitur, not really based on the plot. It was just kind of random and out there, and it a lot of times worked. Like those same sequence, like during the crazy fight where you had like the Kirk and Picard like throwing punches at each other and kind of like Kirk kind of overdoing it with the fighting. Like it was great that they did that. What I didn't like about it, and bear with me on this, I didn't like what they did with Patrick Halliburton and Michael Dorn in this movie
Really?
at all. Like because they're the gay couple, but they're also like
nerd bashing.
Like they're asshole bullies.
I like the nerd bashing.
Oh, that was like my least favorite part of the movie. Not because they were nerd bashing, just because it was like talk about repeating a joke. Like they had him like 6 times like shove some guy over and be like nerd, and it's like
Right.
It was only so funny the first time. I mean, the only thing that I liked about those two characters, this was so small. I did not like anything that they did in the movie. Nothing against them as actors. They were just again wasted in this movie. But I did like that Michael Dorn was dressed as Worf and Patrick Halliburton was dressed as the Tick. Both characters that they played. So I thought that was a really cool like reference. But aside from that, like those are two characters I could have cut completely.
Yeah. Patrick Warburton was the voice of the Tick, right? So
I don't know if he was he was in the live series, the live action series.
Oh, okay.
2001, 2002.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Flash Gordon, he appeared again, but he was wasted too. Like,
yeah,
hardly even noticed. I mean, oh, there's Flash Gordon again, haha. That's it, and they basically did nothing with him. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to talk about what the hell was that opening credit sequence number? Like, so you have a comedy movie, right? That's supposed to be funny, and you started off with this big musical dance number that has no comedy in it.
Oh, it was the Family Guy opening.
But why is it funny?
It's not. It was a bad opening. It was like
terrible.
I get that Seth MacFarlane likes these, like that's just the thing that he likes, and kudos to him for like
cool.
He loves like big flashy musical numbers and like kind of like the classic Hollywood top hat and all of that stuff. Like that's cool, but it didn't work here. Like if it was funny, it would have worked really good. It would have worked really well here. Or if it had been a different film and he had included that, it could have worked. Yeah. But it did not fit the tone of this film, so it was kind of a waste.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I was like, come on, let's get through these credits and start the movie. It seemed to go on way too long. Speaking of long, this movie was almost 2 hours long, which is way too long for a comedy. I'm sorry, like there isn't enough material here to make a 2-hour movie.
No.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it takes something very special to go that long and as a comedy and be successful. But most of the time what you end up with, and you see this a lot with this type of film, where you have a comedy that's 2/3 of it is humor, and then the last third has to be the action set piece for the climax.
Right.
At least here, I think some of the action set piece was a little funny because of the Comic-Con stuff. But still, yeah, there was like, you cut out several characters from this movie. You get this down to like an 85-minute film by cutting out some of the extraneous shit. and leaving the funny stuff, and we might be singing a different tune here. Like good editing could have saved this film.
So kind of maybe akin to that a little bit. We have another comment from Pete R, who says, "Way too much stoner comedy, and I'm a stoner, so that should tell you how bad it is." There was a lot of that, although
there was more in this one.
Yeah, there was definitely more in this one. Although I have to say, I did get a chuckle out of the Jurassic Park thing initially.
They're moving herds.
I didn't understand that piece.
Well, that's isn't that what?
No, it is. But how does weed move in herds? I
they were
didn't
just
understand.
ripping off the Jurassic.
I think after we got the riff, they kept riffing on the same thing, and that's what. To me, that weakens the joke a little bit. Like, we got it. Come on, let's move on.
Right.
It's not funnier the more things you say about it. Yeah. So, but yeah, Pete R. If you're a stoner, there's a movie coming out that you might be interested in with Jesse Eisenberg called American Ultra. I'll just say that.
Oh, and Kristen Stewart, right? From
Twilight?
Yeah.
That looks actually pretty interesting.
Indeed. Check it out, Pete.
Like Lucy with pot.
Oh, guys, do we have much more to say on Ted 2?
I don't know. I mean, there's probably more we could pick at, but what's the point at this? Unless it's something big, Will, that you.
No, I'm looking at my notes, and because I do notes, and there's nothing. Everything we need to say has been said.
Let me ask this: 2 years from now, if there's a Ted 3, couldn't see it?
Are we reviewing it for the show in this hypothetical future?
Let's say we're not. Let's say that week a Star Wars movie comes out and we have to make a choice.
Okay, well then obviously a Star Wars movie. No,
I gotta say, yeah. I'm not gonna be. I'm sorry, Will. Go ahead.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's 100% like a hard pass. Like if it's like in a summer that's just like completely devoid of comedies, it might be able to squeak its way in. But barring some sort of like weird comedy drought or whatever, yeah, it's probably a pass for me.
Yeah, I think I'm done with. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm hard pass, but I have the feeling that I'm kind of done with Seth MacFarlane directed and written movies. Yeah. Maybe they need to let him, maybe co-write a movie. That might work. I don't know. I think I'm done with that.
I don't blame you. I think I kind of am too. But yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to some plugs. Will, what's your plug this week?
All right. So I've mentioned a couple of times here on the show. I'm doing something. I'm helping to program the Austin Gay and Lesbian International Film Festival, and as part of our ramp up, we're doing. There's like a monthly screening of different films at the Alamo Draft House, and I had a chance to see this last month one that is. It's a new film, and it's going to be released on, I believe, limited release July 10th. So very shortly, you might be able to see this film, depending on your area, your market. It's this movie called Tangerine, and here's the setup. Here's the premise to Tangerine. It's a day in the life, kind of slice of life type film. This transgender, street hooker has just gotten out of prison, and she finds out that her boyfriend / pimp has been cheating on her while she was in jail for 30 days. So she's off trying to hunt him down, while her friend, another transgendered prostitute, is trying to get people to come to a singing show, like a little performance she has later that night. It's all done over the course of one day. It is delightfully funny. It is a very raunchy, not because there's like a lot of like, it's not like a TNA type raunchy, but just, it is dealing with like, street workers and their trade. Also of note, this film was completely filmed on an iPhone 5.
Nice.
It completely shot, but with solid editing and cinematography. So it comes across like I was thinking like, oh, can I do this? No, I couldn't do that with an iPhone 5. So it is a remarkably
there's an
funny
app for that.
Yeah, there's an app for that. It's a remarkably funny film. It's a remarkably well-made film. I love that it doesn't shy away from any hard topics. I also love the fact that when we talk about when we talk about LGBT films, often the T doesn't get covered quite as much. And there are a good number, the majority of the cast members in this are persons of color. So it's nice seeing just kind of underrepresented groups within our already underrepresented groups taking the helm on this film. So it's called Tangerine, limited release on July 10th. Uproariously funny. You should definitely go see it.
I'll put it on my list.
Totally make a documentary called LBGT: the T is silent, all about how the transgender community does not get its representation.
Yeah,
it's got the title. Now write the movie.
There we go.
Movie writes itself.
Let's see. What do I have for plugs? Magic Mike XXL is coming out this weekend. Jim, I know you loved this the original film. I loved it too, unexpectedly so. And not because of the hot guys taking their clothes off. It was actually sort of a heartfelt movie. I really enjoyed it. I'm a little afraid, given the marketing material, what's going to happen with Magic Mike XXL. But it's coming out this weekend. We are super stoked to have Mike Levins join us next week to review
our own
Magic Mike. Our Magic Mike, who made a condition he would only come on and review the movie with us if we all take our shirts off for the review.
Pants. Oh no, was it just shirts?
Was it shirts and pants?
Well, I guess we're only showing the shirt part.
Right.
But, I'll do it completely naked.
Pants would have to be an After Dark show.
Magic Mike Levins, you're gonna have to clarify that a little bit for us. But go see this movie over the weekend and then listen to our show next week, or watch it on YouTube if you want a little man flesh. But yeah, check it out. And Will is giggling. So
Man flesh.
Jim, what's your plug?
Let's see. We saw another movie. I saw another movie. But together we saw this little movie called Dope.
It was
Dope. Is out. Was also out the last couple weeks. I think it was released a couple weeks ago. And I really dug this movie. I was kind of surprised at how much I liked it. It's kind of an offbeat and original, I guess, coming-of-age story. It's about a high school kid named Malcolm. He comes from a rough Inglewood, California neighborhood known as the Bottoms. He's a really good student, and he has a seemingly bright future and a chance to get into Harvard. He has two close buddies that are all, and they're together. They're in a, they have their own little punk band, and they're also into '90s hip hop culture. They dress in like the, MC Hammer pants and wear the hats and stuff. But it's set in present day. It's not set in the '90s. I like the movie. Think of like an edgier version of like Ferris Bueller's Day Off in the Hood. That's kind of what I kind of saw it as a little bit. Nice. But add some higher and more dangerous stakes, and you're kind of close to the tone of this movie. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, and I think it's worth a watch. I definitely, hindsight is 20/20, but I definitely see this over Ted 2.
Well, it's interesting that your plug is Dope, because Steve of Sacramento Movie Bears says he's recommending Dope. Imagine a John Hughes film, but told through the perspective of a 2015 Blurred. I'm not sure what a Blurred is.
It's a black nerd.
Oh, okay.
Word on the Blurred.
Blurred is the word. And a very non-lipsticky teen lesbian. Not a perfect film, but worth checking out. Yeah, I saw this one with Jim as well, and I don't know. The trailer just didn't really resonate with me much, but I'm like, I'll go see anything for the most part. It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Definitely worth checking out for sure.
Yeah.
Agreed. Good stuff. Well, guys, this has been an awesome show. Big love again to Doug Langway for hopping on with us this week to talk about BearCity 3. Again, get involved, guys. Go to BearCity3.com if you want to be part of the project. Donate some fundage, skip a coffee, give $5, whatever. You want to be in the movie? You can do that too. There are perks going all the way up.
If you haven't been part of an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter campaign yet, this would be a great one to start with. I mean, like I said, it doesn't take a lot of money
right?
But it gives you a little bit of ownership and interest in that project, and it's kind of an interesting feeling. So if you haven't done anything like that yet, this is a great one to start with. Because it's right within our community.
Exactly. And plus, like Doug mentioned, like the money is going on the screen. Like these types of self-funded and crowdsourced films, they're not pocketing extra money. Like we're going to see that that's put directly into making the film. That's amazing. That's fascinating to me. It's again, you get that ownership. Like I helped make that. Pitching $10 in, but I helped make that.
Most definitely. It's a great feeling. So now's a great time to get on board. Find some links in our show notes, but it's really easy. BearCity3.com. Check it out, guys. Next week, Magic Mike.
Yeah.
Terminator is also coming out, and I know we want to talk about that. Maybe. I don't think we're going to do a double feature though. So
it's going to be a little hard because it's I may or may not have some clothing optional pool parties this weekend.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah. So time will be limited. So I think we're just going to do Magic Mike XXL. And you know what, Khaleesi with the Terminator, if we get to you at some point, we get to you. If not, well. Anyway, have a good one, everyone. Thanks for joining us this week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.